So we just talked about the situation with Olha Harlan, with your colleague, cyclist Yaroslav Popovich, and I want to ask you how you perceive all the news that arose within this situation.
So first of all, it's really nice to see such a big support from Ukrainian people to Olga, and we all understand that now it's not in the top. It's not main topic of Ukraine. So main topic is the war, first of all. But it's nice to see that everyone stands behind us, behind athletes, and we see that Ukrainian people can change everything. And this pressure, what was created by Ukrainian media, by Ukrainian people, it changed a lot. Yeah? So it changed fully rules, and now Olga have license and no handshakes. What is really important rule. But at the same time, we see how bad situation inside this federation, in the fencing federation, how they try to put interests of terrorists, I would say, Russian and Belarusian, at like more in the top than our interest, and they try to bring some disrespectful thing to us. And I see all this situation as a big disrespect to Ukraine and to Ukrainian people, to Ukrainian sports. And of course, it's really bad to see such a behavior. Of course, we understand that this federation, especially fencing, it's fully under control of Usmanov, and and we see result of it. And such a decisions, it's obviously it's from Usmanov hands.
It's interesting, actually. We have rules, and Olha Harlan won by the rules. And we have emotions and maybe private attitude towards the athletes of other country. And especially if this country is in war with Ukraine and is aggressor to Ukraine and Ukrainians. So on the scale is emotions and the rules. Why this situation ever might appear before the heads of the committee, the heads of these organizations that rules this type of sport? Because this is emotions and this is the rules. It's, for me, it's not understandable.
It's a little bit incorrect because it's also rules. Respect to your opponent is also rules, and they have these rules. But it's not a handshake, and they don't have word as a word handshake. They should say like hello to each other or like goodbye as act of respect. And Olga was proposing to do it with sables. And this is a difference, yeah. So like she doesn't want to do a handshake, and it's okay because now we have COVID protocols, and you can do it with sable. But it was obviously very provocative move from Russian athlete or like terrorist, I would say also, because she's supporting war. But it's another question. But at all, yeah. So Olga knows, as I see it, Olga don't break any rules, and she do everything correct. And it could be handshake, but it could be also just touching with sables. But Russian athlete don't want to touching with sables. She want to, I don't know, hug or something like that, to make it using in Russian propaganda, as we see it before. But but we have what we have, and of course Olga don't break any rules, and she won her, and she should fight in next round. And it's really shameful that she was out from competition because of this situation.
Actually, it's not the first time. It's not the first occasion with the Ukrainian athletes. I want to remind you and our audience that handshaking with Russian athletes has been quite a provocative idea for a long time. For example, at Roland Garros, Ukrainian tennis player Elina Svitolina received a portion of negativity from the French public. The representative of Ukraine was once again booed for ignoring a handshake with the representative of the aggressor country. So, on your point of view, why do you think our tennis players were booed because they didn't want to shake hands with the Belarusian tennis player? And why it happens with the international audience, the representatives of European countries that have respect to Ukraine and really support Ukrainians?
That's problem of Russian athletes in the sport. Yeah, so they're using this media stage because sport is obviously it's a media. It's a very big media stage, and they use it for promoting their propaganda, and that's the answer, because Russian propaganda works, and through the sport it works very good for years, and we can remind ourselves this amazingly big, huge scandal, doping scandal, where like Russian government was involved. So for Russia, sport is like propaganda tool in propaganda, and very strong tool, and this is an answer. So they try to fool everyone that sport is out of politics, that Russian athletes are natural, but we see more and more and more that even athletes who was checked by somehow, anyway, they connected to army, they connected to Russian propaganda, and as we see, a lot of people, even in countries who support us a lot, even these countries as a French audience, they really believe in this propaganda, that these athletes are not guilty. And we also see one of the program on Netflix about some Russian players where they also was crying and say that they're not guilty and they're just a victim. But of course they're not victims. They're playing for Russian propaganda, and that's what we see on these crowds. And Russian propaganda works, and this is a problem, because after that Russian propaganda write about it, and they try to convince Russian people in Russia that whole world supports them. And they try to convince more and more people, become a Russian terrorist zombie, and go to the war to Ukraine. So it's how Russian propaganda works. So, and this is a problem in such a case that we can prevent sharing of this propaganda on the international stage. And that's why Russian and Belarusian athletes should be banned from all competitions.